Howdy y'all, Christi here with Little Salty Homesteader. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am back today with your June monthly garden checklist for your North Texas vegetable garden. And since the temperatures are heating up as we get farther and farther into summer, there's not a whole lot of planting tasks that you're going to be doing this month, but the maintenance tasks are going to help prolong the life of your garden. So before I get started, I always like to tell you guys my sources for gathering this checklist. That way you guys understand that I'm not just making things up as I go along. Sometimes I do, but not for these. So first of all, I always check my Neil Sperry's Lone Star Gardening book, pretty close to the beginning. He breaks out everything that you're going to want to do month by month for your gardens within this, and this is all encompassing, including your grass, your trees, your flowers, your shrubs, a lot of things that I don't necessarily include in my checklist because I am more focused on your vegetable gardens, maybe some flowers and things like that. My other source is going to be Dallas Garden School, and then my own seedtime.us account. My planting dates and transplant dates and all of those things very closely align with hers over at Dallas Garden School, so I feel like that's a pretty good source to use. Now, whenever I break out these checklists, I always try to start with the shopping list because to me that's the most boring part. I'm not a big shopper, but there are some things that you do need to make sure you have on hand as you're continuing throughout your garden season. So first of all, you're gonna want to make sure that you have your fertilizers in stock. Slow release granulated as well as a liquid fertilizer are good to keep on hand at all times throughout your garden season. The other thing that you're going to want to procure, if you do not have it already, is any sort of organic pest control that you like to use, including diatomaceous earth, neem oil, Castile soap, things like that that don't necessarily hurt your plants, and most other beneficial insects and birds and things, but will help you manage your pests that you don't want in your garden necessarily. Now for your planting, there is some stuff that you can direct sow this month, including corn, squash, zucchini, cucumbers, melons, your black-eyed peas, and okra. But you're gonna wanna take care of that by June 15th. After June 15th, the soil temperatures are too hot and the germination might get spotty, and or your tender little roots are going to overheat from the blasting sun. If you're going to transplant anything, this is also by June the 15th. That includes things like cucumbers, peppers, squash, watermelon, zucchini, eggplant, and okra. Now, if you are a flower gardener, this is a good time to transplant those heat-tolerant annual flowers. I'm going to be transplanting out some zinnias and sunflowers and some cosmos and some celosia later in the month. So those are just some of the examples of heat-tolerant annuals you can place into your garden spaces. So now we get into the maintenance tasks. Remember earlier in the video, I said that your maintenance tasks are going to be much longer than your planting tasks. So first of all, maintain your regular fertilizing schedule. You're going to want to alternate your liquid fertilizer with your slow release granulated fertilizer, and just make sure that you're doing that at the same interval that you have been doing it. Most of my garden is on a bi-weekly schedule. My 2 raised beds by the fence that have had the nitrogen issue, those are on a weekly schedule. So just keep up with that same schedule, because as your plants get stressed, that fertilizer can kind of help, you know, help them keep growing along until it cools back off. Additionally, you're going to want to prune any sick, dead, or pest damaged leaves and branches, because this is the season for the pests. If you saw my weekly update from Friday, you'll know what I'm talking about with hornworms, spider mites, cucumber beetles, squash, vine borers, all those different pests that can become a problem very quickly here in North Texas. You will also want to start treating for pest damage, hand picking off squash bugs, hornworms, And cucumber beetles is going to be the most effective method. Removing the eggs for squash bugs and squash vine borers, and the hornworm eggs, if you can find them. They're the same color as the tomato leaves, so good luck for those. Hand picking off the eggs and disposing of them properly within the trash, or killing them with fire, will help manage the pests as well. If you encounter something like spider mites, you can spray them off with high pressure water. You're going to want to do that daily for at least a week until you see the conditions on your plants improving, and then of course return to that action if you see those pests returning. Aphids, you can use insecticidal soap, Castile in some water, spray it on your leaves early in the morning or late in the day, not during the heat of the day, is going to help deter those pests. Also, growing plants that bring in the beneficial pests will kind of help ward off some of those bad bugs too. You're also going to want to remove any spent flower blooms on your perennials and your continuously blooming flowers like marigolds. I know I need to walk through my garden now and deadhead a lot of my marigold plants because there's a lot of blooms that are already, and I have just left them there because I just have not had time to get out there and do that, but I need to do that this week. Additionally, if you have diseases like powdery mildew on your plants, especially your zinnias and your zucchinis, you're going to want to treat that. There is some home-based treatments that you can do, like baking soda diluted in water or milk diluted in water, or you can get an organic fungicide that contains sulfur that will help mitigate the powdery mildew issue. If your garden is in full sun, June is a good month to go ahead and install shade cloth. Now, while most of your summer garden crops do prefer to have a lot of sun on them, the full sun in Texas is a whole lot different than the full sun in, say, Michigan. So a 40 or 50% shade cloth can really help prolong the life of your plants and keep them from getting as stressed as they would if the sun was just blasting down on them all day long. Additionally, if you have not harvested your onions and garlic yet, this is going to be the month to do it. You're gonna wait for leaves to die back and or fall over, and that is a pretty good indicator that it's time to go ahead and harvest. You will place them on some sort of rack or storage system in a shady, dry place where they will be protected from rain and all of the other elements for at least 2 weeks before you can move them indoors permanently into your pantry spaces. And then lastly, for the planting tasks, this is the month to go ahead and start planning out your fall garden if you are going to grow one. So if you're growing things like broccoli, cauliflower, any of those other brassicas, or any root vegetables, or even the leafy greens, they do a lot better in the fall here than they do in the spring. So if you're wanting to grow that type of garden, go ahead and plan that out now. Figure out the plants that you want to plant, and then you can go to Dallas Garden School or seedtime.us to figure out your planting schedule. I know that a lot of my seed starting starts in July for my fall garden. So as I'm starting to take out some of these tomato plants and things and making room, I will be starting the brassicas and stuff to put into those spaces. But that is basically it for this week's monthly check-in checklist update thing. If you liked this video and you want to see future monthly checklists, please like, subscribe, comment, do all those different YouTube things. Otherwise, until next time, go find a way to get those garden manicures. Bye!